All right, we're going to start with when a is greater than 1 so that we can still use completing the square. Let's go ahead and take these notes so that step by step we know what to do. Go ahead and pause the video and copy the notes. Now in here, what you're going to notice is that we're going to get some fractions, and that's okay, right? We still bring c to the other side, but step 2 is a little different. We want to divide the entire equation, I mean every single term, by a. Then we follow the same steps. We do b over 2 squared, we factor, go from there. So let's do problem number 1. We're going to bring c to the other side, so we get a negative 6 equals 2x squared minus 8x. Now, when I divide everything by 2, it actually works out perfectly, right? This gives me a negative 3 over here. This gives me an x squared over here. This gives me a minus 4x. Everything's simplified perfectly. That's not always going to be the case. Sometimes you will get fractions, and we'll do an example of that as well. So we're going to now do b over 2 squared, which is negative 4 over 2 squared. So it's a negative 2 squared, which gives me a 4. I'm adding 4 to both sides. This side is now a perfect square trinomial, so now I can factor, which comes from here, x minus 2 squared. The other side, 4 plus a negative 3 is 1. Take the square root. Well, I can take the square root of 1, which is positive negative 1. And on the other side, I'm still have an x minus 2. I can add 2 to both sides. And over here, I find out that positive 1 plus 2 is 3. And negative 1 plus 2 is 1. So my answers are 1 and 3 for my solutions. Try this on your own with number 2. I will tell you right now, number 2 works out perfectly. Pause the video here. Now that you solved number 2, I'm going to show you the answer. You get a negative 2 and an 8. We are now going to do number 4 because number 4, it does not work out perfectly with step 2. Right? I'm going to bring my 3, my c, to the other side. And I'm going to divide by a. When I divide by a here, I'm dividing by 4. So although this gives me x squared, and this gives me a positive 2x, I'm left with a negative 3 over 4. Yes, we're dealing with fractions, and that's okay. We're going to do b over 2 squared, which gives me 2 over 2 squared, which is 1 squared, which is 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. If I notice I have a fraction here, instead of adding 1, I could also just add 4 over 4. So I'm setting up my fractions correctly as I need to. While I factor this is x plus 1 squared, and the other side gives me 1 over 4 because I combined my like terms. Now I can take the square root. And what I notice is square root of 1 is 1 and square root of 4 is 2. So I get a positive negative. And on the other side I get x plus 1. I'm going to subtract 1, or I'm going to subtract 2 over 2 because it's equivalent to negative 1, right? Be careful here so that you can add and subtract your fractions accordingly. I am going to get a negative 3 over 2 and a negative 1/2 as my final answers. Yes, you might have to review your fraction rules, so be careful here. There's one more type of answer I would like to go, there's one more type of answer I'd like to go over because we did that with a equals 1 and it's irrational solutions. We already have these notes for irrational solutions, so I'm going to have you take the notes again, right, just so you have it. It's the same as before. So if you want, pause the video here. And we're going to use example number 1. So I bring c to the other side. I get a negative 22 equals 2x squared minus 16x. I'm dividing everything by 2. So I get a negative 11 equals x squared minus 8x. Now I'm doing b over 2 squared, right? B is negative 8. So I have a negative 8 over 2 squared, which gives me a negative 4 squared, which is 16. So I'm adding 16 to both sides. And what this allows me to do again is to factor. So I get x minus 4 squared. Over here, when I add this up, it's 5. I'm going to take the square root, and ooh, we ended up with the square root of 5 again. And that doesn't work. We know that. So it's a positive negative square root of 5, which equals x minus 4. I'm going to add 4. So our final answer is 4 plus or minus root 5. Go ahead and try number 2 while I have this on the screen for you so that you can check your answer. The answer to number 2 is negative 5 plus or minus 2 root 7. Make sure you simplify that, root 28, since you can simplify it between the factors of 4 and 7, because you can take the square root of 4. There is another type of problem I want to go over because it's not going to look so friendly. You might get, oh, actually, you know what? Never mind. We can save that for when we get to quadratic formula. Go ahead and continue to practice. As you can see, there's a few pages that you have that you're able to practice with.